Welcome, everyone, to Friday the 13th on Talented Universe, a part of the NDB Media Network. And we have a special guest today. But before I have Marcia introduce him, I'm going to introduce Marcia. Marcia, how are you doing today?
I'm fine. Happy to be here.
Yeah, go ahead and you can introduce our guest.
Yeah, I am thrilled to have our special guest, Josh Murray, with us today. Hi, Josh.
Hey, Marcia, how are you?
Good. And Josh, I have so much fun when I get to research a guest before coming. And if I were to just go through 1/4 of the things that you've done so far, I would still be there and I'd have to phone in. You have such a delightful range of work, even so far. And so, welcome.
Awesome. That sounds lovely of you to say. Very great. Very glad to be here, Marcia.
Yeah, so where are you right now? You're in California, right?
Yeah, I've been in Southern California for the last 7 years, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
7, 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And just so everybody knows, I'm in Northeast Florida right now. And originally from New York City, and Michael is in the Washington, D.C. area. So we kind of cover the country.
Well, I was born in Long Island, lived in Pensacola, Florida, and spent many years in Washington, D.C. So I know it very well.
God. You've got us all covered. You were born on Long Island. Where on Long Island was?
Inwood, Freeport, South Shore.
Been there. Okay, yeah. I was actually born in Harlem and raised in Queens. So yeah.
My cousin used to live in Harlem, and my great aunt lived in Queens, and my grandfather lived on the Upper East Side. So I know New York very well.
Oh my goodness! When was the last time you were in New York? Then
I actually shot Bring Back My. Let's see, no. Yes, I shot Bring Back My Heart in New York last year. So that was the last time I was there.
Oh, so let's dive in then, because a lot of people are watching for your vertical. So we could start there with Bring Back My Heart, where you were Blake, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So what did you think when you get a script? What is the first thing that you do?
The first thing I do, print it out.
Do you really? Oh wow!
Yeah, if I'm doing it, I mean, not if I'm like considering it, but like if I'm doing it, I usually print it out. I like to have a hard copy. Hopefully, when they're not changing it too often. Yeah, I like to print it out. I like to read a hard copy if I can, and read it as many times as I can. So it's really cool now. You can turn like text to audio now. So now, if I'm like driving, I can also listen to it. So I'll print it out and I'll also turn it to an audio version so that I can listen to it. And my goal is to go through it as many times as I can, 10, 12 times. And, I have never gotten up to Anthony Hopkins 200 times, but maybe when I get a script 6 months in advance, I'll be able to read it 200 times one day.
Wow. So every time that you go through it, is that how you memorize it? By listening to it? What is that technique?
Yeah, partly it's learning the lines, but it's more about understanding the story and the characters and finding the nuances and discovering the ideas about the script, is to really soak it up as much as possible. But no, I usually learn the lines separately. Like I go over them and I rehearse them individually as we're getting ready for, a day or a week, whatever, like, because it gets closer to the shoot. I learned the lines for that section of the shoot.
Yeah, we've actually had Haley on the show too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, nice. Haley. So Bring Back My Heart was the first vertical I finally did. And Haley was like the perfect co-star to start with, because she's wonderful and amazing and lovely to work with. And I really enjoyed our time together. And I hope that we do something again.
Yeah. And Michael knows, and people know, I like to go into the Wayback Machine. I have my little Wayback Machine here. That's
Right.
from a cartoon character from a long time ago. But so let's go back and start kind of, you said you kind of grew up on Long Island, or not really grew up, you were kind of born there.
We moved when I was a little kid, and I grew up more in the DC metropolitan area. But all our close family and friends were still in New York, so we would regularly go up to visit. And then once I started acting, I was also starting to commute up to New York for auditions and stuff. So I've spent a ton of time in New York and have a lot of old friends there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed kind of learning about your journey from you had to do some pivoting in your early career, because you were in school for like computer science, and then you had some physical challenges where you kind of had to pivot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, pivoting is a big part of life.
Mm-hmm.
We have a plan, or we have a track, and then we have things to change. We have new challenges, or we have new realizations. And then, if you're not pivoting, you're not growing. If you're not growing, you're dying. So, I big switches over the course of my life. But for me, that was one of the biggest pivots of my life, to going like, hey, I'm going to be an actor. Because growing up, I never thought I would be an actor.
You never thought, or you never considered?
I never thought about being an actor. I think when I was when they were making the Lord of the Rings, because I was a huge fan of the books growing up, that was like the one time in my life where I was like, oh man, I wish I was an actor, because I would love to be part of that. That was the first time I even thought about the possibility of acting. But no, I grew up with an appreciation of films. My dad was into writing scripts, but it was never like a possibility until I was in college, and I was going to school for computers, and I started hearing more about independent film in the DC area, and that's when I was like, I wonder if I should try it. And it was also like the combination of both my personal self journey and also my health challenges that kind of spurred me into like, I need to do something else. I need to find something, an outlet, and I was really drawn to this. Just some of this instinct, and just had a hunch, an instinct, like I need to somehow explore acting. It was never like a vanity of mine that I would be an actor, but I was like, I feel like I need to try it. And so I just stepped out and did an audition for a short film, and ended up getting into it. And that really sparked me of like, there's something here for me. And so I spent years just diving into it, exploring it, and challenging myself. And one thing led to another, and I was like, okay, this is something I really want to take seriously.
Mm-hmm. And you had some early success actually as an actor too.
Yeah, I mean, like that first year that I was like, I'm scared of this, but I want to try it, even just as a hobby. I have sort of that, I don't know, that bragging right, if you will, of like the first audition, my first acting experience was an audition that I got into the film. And then a few months later, I booked the lead in a low budget feature film. But those first few years, like I had no idea what I was doing. And I also had a lot of personal blocks that made it just difficult to be an artist, difficult to be an actor. That had a lot of resistance. And that was kind of part of why I was doing it. It wasn't originally like, this is what I'm meant to do. It was like, I'm really scared of this, and it's really hard. And I feel like it's very challenging to me, in the sense that I don't feel capable of doing this in a way. Like it feels daunting. And it was more like, I don't want to be intimidated by it. I don't want like fear control me. So it was more like fixing a deficit rather than pursuing like a dream originally. And so those first few years, I was just doing stuff in the DC area, like super low budget, like no budget amateur films. But I was doing stuff, and it was really invigorating. And it was motivating to me, to to kind of pursue some of the life journey stuff that I was working through. And then after doing that for a few years, and I started to develop and to change and to pivot, as you said, as a human being, I started to realize like, hey, there's more to this here for me. And also like, not only am I growing and I'm finding this as a good medium for me as a human being, but also as I'm starting to grapple with these challenges and these problems that I'm working on, there's something here for me, more than just a hobby or more than just an outlet. And that's when I decided to stop working full time and pursue it as a career, as a profession. And it was basically like 6 months of no work, of like, kind of like, I don't know if this is going to happen. And then I booked a couple of smaller projects. And then right after that, I booked Killing Lincoln. And all of a sudden I'm on set with, Emmy Award winners and heads of networks and studios, and also being told like, you're a great actor. And so that was when I really was like, okay, I'm not kidding myself. Like, I think I can do this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so you said that you kind of left your day job, and which was what at the time?
I was doing IT stuff. Yeah. I was doing IT stuff.
And then turned into you embraced your acting career so it was kind of getting your wings and starting to fly kind of in a way. And or throwing myself into the maelstrom. Yeah. Michael, did you want to take it?
Yeah, let me pop in there. Well, I'm excited you lived in the DMV. Yeah. Were you in Virginia then, or
Maryland and Virginia?
Oh, both. Okay.
Yeah, Maryland. I lived in Olney. Was on the Olney Boys and Girls Club sports teams as a kid, and then we lived in Northern Virginia. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Was the Olney Theater still around when you were?
I used to drive by it like every day.
Yeah. I used to go there a lot looking at plays when I was little, but not recently, sadly. I think it did close down finally, but I can't remember now. It's like sometimes I forget what's what. But anyway, what was your first thing you did in the DC area? Because I'm just curious, because I was doing independent films, 15 years ago in DC, so that's why I was wondering.
Well, I'll give a shout out to my buddy Ron Newcomb. He was actually kind of how I got into the industry, because he had a little consortium that he had been organized way back then in the DC area, and I think my dad was on his mailing list or something like that, and he had told me about him, and that's how I found out about this short film. It was called Mr. Pratt, and they were doing this little speed competition short film. And so I found out about through him, and I auditioned and I got into this film, and then I met him. We worked on this short film together, and then he directed a feature later that year that I did, so we did a feature together later that year. I did a few 48-hour film festivals, like the DC 48-hour film festival that spring as well. I think I booked a couple of those projects as well. I don't remember exactly the timeline, but not too long after that, I did another project with Ron called The Fellows Hip. I was involved with, which was like a Lord of the Rings fan film, geek, like Lord of the Rings geeks fan film. But
that's what I understand.
Yeah. So that kind of stuff. And then there was I was doing industrials. I did a bunch of stuff for the Army, the Marine Corps. I was getting to driving Blackhawks, and driving Humvees and sit in Blackhawk helicopters and do training exercises with live, with active duty units. And so I was going to do some really fun stuff. There's a lot of cool opportunities there. And I did some plays. I did Macbeth on stage at a black box theater, and I did some community theater, played Sherlock Holmes. I got to do a lot of stuff in DC. It was a great kind of accessible, testing grounds, because I didn't go to school for it, but I got to have a low barrier to entry way to mess with this stuff.
Did you do any Shakespeare stuff in DC, or you didn't get into that?
I did. I played Macbeth, 700 lines of Shakespeare. Yeah.
I missed that.
Yeah, that was an amazing experience. It was very small. It was a very small production, but I got to play Macbeth, and then I ended up at the same time I made a short film about Macbeth as well. So that was my first foray into producing that year too.
So you've done a lot in your time. Yeah, you're right, Marcia. Yeah, your Wayback Machine does much better than mine. Mine's on the blink, but it's like, oh well, but at least yours is working fine.
But I think I was gonna say, like, as from a story, like looking back, and most of the time this is why, Michael, I love doing interviews, is like it forces me to kind of like make sense of this crazy journey, because most of the time I have 500 things on my to-do list and I'm like running and gunning and like don't have time to look at myself in the mirror. But I love revisiting stuff, because you kind of like you get the lessons learned as I'm talking about this stuff. But I was going to say, when I did those first speed filmmaking competitions way back when, I had people like the producers, the director would be like, oh, this is your first movie, or like, you just started acting this year, like you're really talented. And I was like, yeah, but you don't know what you're talking about, because like you're making, no budget short films, right? So like I kind of took everything with a grain of salt of like, well, yeah, I'm like good for like people who don't know what they're doing, but like that doesn't mean I have any talent. And so I kind of, not that I dissed them to their face, but I kind of, in my mind, I kind of poo-pooed it of like, that doesn't mean anything really. I mean, it's nice to hear, but it was like maybe like 4 years later. And like, I did a lot of work to like learn the skills and to also to work on myself and to develop myself, emotionally and physically. But it was like maybe 4 years later that I was on set with like some of the most accomplished people in Hollywood, who were introducing me to like actors that, I would look up to and respect, and saying, oh, Josh is a great actor. And so there's a verse in the Bible that says, don't despise small beginnings. And so whoever that's for, like, if you're kind of like, oh, this is really small time, and if it's working or succeeding here, it doesn't mean anything. I think, even though, as I look back, I was so green and so undeveloped and stifled in many ways as an artist, but those people were right that they did see a talent in me, and it took me years to really believe in it or to accept it. And so maybe whoever that's for, maybe it's for somebody. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it is true. I mean, you never know. I mean, as I said, I worked on a very low budget production, and I mean, either you had it or you didn't, and I mean, we took everybody. If they were a fan of the shows we were doing, because we were doing Star Trek fan films. And if they were a fan of Star Trek, we usually let them come on. And sometimes they surprised us and they were really good, and sometimes they weren't. And I refused to get on very much because I had troubles memorizing lines, and I always did. And they always wanted me to be on camera, and I go, no, if I have lines, no. So anyway, how, when you switched, and how did you get into doing verticals? Let's just start that. What did you have friends that had done them and they told you about them? Did you stumble across it, or did you say, I don't know what the heck they're talking about, but I'm going to try it?
Yeah. So, I mean, basically, they were reaching out to me about doing verticals for like 2 years.
Really?
These vertical platforms, they were contacting me on emails and Instagram and my agent and saying like, hey, are you available? And I would look at I know there's people think it's the disc. What's that?
Were you looking at the titles of the shows or the script, or?
Yeah, I couldn't get past the titles, but I would look at some of their past work, like these platforms work, and I mean, this is including reel shorts. And I couldn't bring myself to consider them because initially, I mean, they're still extremely low budget projects, but initially the quality was really amateurish. And I had a meeting with the heads of one of these major platforms, and I told him to his face, I was like, I haven't done one yet because they suck. And he was like, I know, but we're making them better. And that meeting was kind of like the first time where I like kind of was ready to reconsider. And it wasn't about the vertical idea or platform or medium, but it was just about the quality and
content, basically.
Yeah, the quality and the content just didn't jive with me. So last year I had some meetings with some of these productions where they were explaining how they were raising the bar and like working on better quality, and they were wanting to get better actors. And so I really have to give a shout out to my friend Paul Ruddy. Was really the turning point, because I was at a meeting with Flare Flow, and he was like really explaining how here's what we're doing now, which was way better than the stuff that I was seeing in the past.
Yeah.
And he was like, here's how we're raising the bar, and we're expanding, and we're not like getting stuck with, we're not married to some of these old problems because of this and that. And he was like, so what do you think? Are you game to try? And so I was like, and he had been sending me them as well for I don't know, for a while, and I was always kind of like, no, I don't want to do these. I want to do these. And so after we had that meeting last year, I was like, okay, well, I'm open to reconsidering. And then I think the next day he was like, do you want to bring back my heart? And so I said, I looked at it and I was like, it's a sweet story. And, I really believe, Paul is very invested in the company, and I really appreciate and respect Paul. And so I said yes. And, it was a much better experience than I know a lot of people have had on these things. And, my director, Chris, was awesome. And of course, Haley was lovely to work with too. And there you have it. That was how I got into it.
Yeah. So after you did it, this is the question I usually ask everybody, and you kind of gotten around it. But after you did the first one and you told someone what you were doing, and if they gave you that blank look that they didn't know what the heck you were talking about, how did you explain it to them? Or did you just do something quick and not even talk about what a vertical was?
The way I usually explain it to people is like, it's a soap opera on your phone.
Simple explanation.
Yeah, simple explanation. We basically shoot a feature film and we break it up into little reel-sized bites.
Yeah, for like TikTok. Yeah, that's what most people said.
Yeah.
And that works. And that works. Now, I do want to talk about your production. I don't know how long ago you did this one, but it was I'm trying to remember. Okay, it's I got written down. It's Too Late to Apologize.
Yes.
That one, in my opinion, was a little different than what I had seen, which I enjoyed. I mean, I've been watching verticals now for almost a year and a half now. And they have dramatically changed in that year and a half when I first started.
Yeah.
And honestly, I was like, oh, well, I guess he's not the main character. He looks like he's the baddie. They're going to do something to him, and but I enjoyed the realization that your character had, finding out how wrong he was about everything.
Yeah.
And was listening to certain people and not listening to who they should have been listening to. Is that what appealed to you in the script, or did you just, or was there something else that appealed to you that you kind of wanted to do something with this character?
What I liked about that one is it had this kind of, not the same level obviously, but the kind of a Shakespearean tragedy, arc to it. I like characters. I like to play dark characters and characters that have duality, and I like characters that, most of all, that have a shift, that have an arc, that do have a strong arc and transformation. And I think the filmmakers, they had like, I guess because it was originally a Chinese production, they had this really strong kind of sense about what it was supposed to be, and that he was really just an incorrigible narcissist, like an unrepentant narcissist, and that was it. But to me, like, that I don't think is as interesting as like somebody, who's more, he's more, more of a gray area, so I think he had a tremendous amount of bitterness about, being trapped in the situation. Like, he's being forced into a marriage with someone who's just out to get his money. And that's really what I kind of clung to, is that, he's almost like trying to get passively getting revenge and in this horrible behavior that he's doing. And he's so fixated on that he can't see anything else. Like, he just reinterprets even the nicest gestures as like manipulation. Mm-hmm. And then finally comes to grips at the end of the film, and then genuinely like grieves what a horrible mistake it is. And then the tragedy of like his stubbornness and his arrogance of like thinking that he knew everything, right, of like other people's intentions, brings this sort of unfixable situation, and also the tragedy of his daughter experiencing the same thing because she follows his lead. Like, she becomes a mirror of him. And so I really like leaned into the true, like, not just feeling sorry for himself, but like really regretting his mistakes and like wanting to change, but like it's too late. Like, he had chosen to be, hateful and bitter for so long that he couldn't change things. And I'll tell you, the biggest compliment I've gotten, I think, on a vertical was I've gotten a number of comments from people saying that they were hoping and wishing that she ended up with Carter at the end, which, it might be toxic, in the sense of like what they did in the story. But I feel as an artist that was the best compliment I could get, because that tells me that people felt that sense of like he genuinely wanted to change.
Which I think was different, because, as you said, I didn't know it was based on a Chinese plot, because now in a Chinese plot that I have seen, it would have gone the other way. He would have just have been totally, I don't think there would have been, no one would want to have him be redeemed if it had been shot the way, that they might have usually done it on a right. Chinese platform. So right. I think that's what got me. It's like, it was something that was a little different. And I mean, you could see when his eyes opened up to see what really happened, and then he was remembering things again in this other perspective, and it just totally changed the way. And you did a marvelous job of how you portrayed that. I just want to tell you, Josh, it was believable. And as you said, your fans have told you wanted you to have the good stuff at the end, but that's because of the way you played it. So don't put yourself down. You don't think you're a good actor. You are a good actor. And on that note, I'm going to go to Marcia, because I'm sure she's going to say something very similar. I probably took a lot of her stuff away, but I tried to keep some of the stuff I thought she was going to talk.
I'm glad you talked about that vertical, which I totally agree, and I really enjoyed hearing the discussion on that. And this is not a vertical, but since we were just still coming out of the holiday season, and I'm a Christmas movie person, you probably know which one I'm going to bring up next, which is Christmas at the Greenbrier.
Yeah.
Wow. I've watched a lot of Christmas movies, and this one for me had a quality of stillness and just beauty to the sets were beautiful, and the story, and your character as Ben, you were on screen a lot. and you actually, in my eyes, were the focus of this story. Usually for Hallmark type movies, it's the woman that's the focus, and yes, there was that. Your story was very compelling, and you told a lot of the story for me through your eyes and through little things that you did. When you saw this project, how did you come to it and embrace it?
Yeah. Oh wow. Thanks so much, Marcia. You know, I do really appreciate the enjoyment and appreciation, because you know, most of the time we shoot these things, we maybe have a premiere, you know, and it's great, and then we move on, and you don't get to often hear like how people experience the work, you know. And so even though it's not like maybe my focus so much, like I really appreciate the aspect of like hearing how people appreciate the work, you know, because ultimately, like, we do make the movies for the audience, and hearing that the audience like really got something out of it is such a gratifying and life-giving thing. So thank you for sharing those thoughts on it. It's funny that the audition came to me while I was at a wedding, and you know, I was almost tempted to not even audition, because I've never done like the Hallmarky guy before. It's not, you know, my core brand, maybe, even though I've had people tell me like, oh, you'd be great in Hallmark movies. And I don't know if you know this, but The Christmas of the Greenbrier actually was literally a Hallmark movie that ended up getting produced at Fox, you know, and because of the pandemic delayed it, and it ended up getting done through Fox News. So anyway, I was at a wedding, and I was like a groomsman for my buddy who was getting married that weekend, and this audition came in, and I'm like, I'm on vacation, I'm out of town, I'm at a wedding, like I don't even know if I'm gonna bother with this, but you know, they were like, oh, do it. And so I just, you know, and I think it was either due that day or the next day or something like that, and I had the wedding the next day, and so I'm like, we got to do this now, we're gonna do this. So I think I went outside for like an hour or two with the lines, and I'm like on my phone, like learning the lines, and then you know, I'm like, I'm not gonna spend a lot of time on this, because you know, we've got this wedding today, I gotta bang it out. And I think I found, luckily my friend was an actor, right? Because I didn't bring anything, I had my cell phone, that's it. And I think because my friend was an actor, there was a bunch of actors at this wedding party, and so somebody had a tripod, because they're all actors. So I found somebody who had a tripod, and we set up my phone. My wife read with me, and I did a couple of takes, and I'm like, you know, whatever, I'm just gonna send this in. So it was like one of those things where I was like, I'm not gonna spend a lot of time on this, because I don't even know if I'm right for this. And so I was not something I was expecting to do, but I got the lines down as best I could. We knocked out a couple of takes. I sent it in that same afternoon that I got the script, I think, and then lo and behold, I was the director's first pick. So you never know. Like, I'd never done anything like this before. I'd never done a Christmas movie, like Hallmarky Christmas movie before. But the director saw the tape, and he was like, "That's the guy. That was who we wanted." So I when I came into it, I was kind of like, you know, this isn't like, I wasn't on my dream list of the types of project I want to work on, but I was like, you know, this is a great challenge for me, you know, because, you know, I tend to like stuff that's more gritty, stuff that's more, you know, like heavy duty, and I kind of think of those movies as being kind of fluffy. But so I was like, it's a challenge for me, you know, knowing that I don't naturally feel like I fit in that world as an actor, to like, how do I like step into that world of like people who are like kind of like lighthearted, magical, and happy, right? And also like find a way to bring some more depth to it also, so that it's that happy-go-lucky movie, you know, fun movie, like non-stressful movie, but at the same time, like, let me see if I can find a way to inject some real depth and heart to it as well. And so that's how I approached it. And I was really happy how it came together, all in all. And I got a lot of feedback from people that kind of reassured me that I was able to achieve some of those goals with it.
Yeah. And working with a young actor who played the son of your love interest, you had to develop a relationship with him that was believable for us as well.
Yeah. You know what? I actually had a conversation with one of my acting teachers, Carol Fox Prescott, who has been a wonderful mentor to me my whole career. And when she looked at it, the first thing she told me was like, make a point to develop a relationship with the boy, like Carter, Carter in real life, right? And so yeah, so I really made a point of like being that like fun uncle vibe with him on set, and really like establishing rapport where like I would be like the guy like, oh, I wished he was my dad kind of thing. And and so that was a great piece of advice. I really emphasized that.
I felt that, and I am a major NFL fan. Major NFL fan.
Huge.
With a capital M.
Nice.
So having that aspect of your character was fun for me, and you getting to work with Coach Beamer, who is an actual live coach.
That's right. Yeah. Everyone was telling me he's a legend. I don't watch college sports. I've never played football, so I didn't have any background on it. But that was the other thing I did was like day one when I agreed to do this was buy a football. And I just started throwing the football around like 24/7. And funny story is when I was at the Greenbrier, we were getting started. I would go out when we were getting ready, like from day one, I would go out in the field next to the Greenbrier and I would just throw the ball. I would do like long throws and I'd run and get it and I'd throw it. I just was practicing throwing relentlessly. And some people started yelling at me from across the lawn, like way over this ravine on the porch of the Greenbrier. And they were yelling at me like, are you about to something? And I'm like, I can't, I don't know what you're saying. And they were all like, there's several people on the porch that were calling out to me. And this guy, he finally gives up trying to communicate at that distance and he starts walking. So he has to walk like the whole length of the Greenbrier, which if you've ever been there, it's like a football field sized building. And he's like, walks all the way down to get around the ravine. He comes all the way back up the field. And I'm like, okay, they want to know about the movie. Cause like when people find out that they were doing a movie, like word I got pretty quick, and we were literally living there for the whole 3 weeks of production. And so everywhere we went, people were like, oh, can we get a photo? Can we get an autograph? You guys are in the movie. So I figured they were coming to talk about the movie, but this guy comes up and he's like, are you so-and-so? And I'm like, what? And he's like, are you so-and-so, the new quarterback for West Virginia? And I was like, no, I've never played football in my life, but that is the best compliment you could give me. Well, I'm trying to learn how to throw a football. So I love that he not only thought I was a football player, but he thought I was a quarterback because I'm portraying a quarterback in the movie. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's wonderful.
Yeah.
It's now part of my holiday list for forever. So thank you for.
By the way, they have. This is part of why they wrote this way, but they have an NFL football training camp at the Greenbrier. So those scenes that you see us shooting are at the Greenbrier on an actual NFL training camp grounds, and so cool. That was really cool. Like character building thing for me. And so I had them set up those targets that you see in the movie leading up to the filming. And I would go out every chance I got and I would just practice, sort of target practice with the football until I was able to, hit a pocket 3 times in a row at like 15 yards or something like that. So yeah.
Neat.
That was fun. And I did look at a lot of Tom Brady clips while I was preparing for the role.
I could feel it. Thank you. You. And we only have a few more minutes, but I have to point out something that I saw on Instagram of you and your lovely sweet son. You were walking with him and you were doing these athletic steps forward and you were cradling him and I could almost feel you go, giving him strength with every step, you're moving forward and forward. I just love Ethan is his name, I believe. Yeah.
Yes, Ethan.
Yeah.
Yep. Ethan just turned 2.
Oh my goodness. Time passes so quickly.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Yeah,
It's
and
fun.
your lovely
Enjoy every
wife
moment.
Catherine. Yeah, and your lovely wife Catherine. Say
My
hi.
lovely wife, Catherine, who's a saint in putting up with my crazy career and supporting me through all of these ups and downs. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm very blessed. I mean, that I got to be an actor at all is crazy and wild privilege, and that I have a beautiful family now with Catherine Ethan, who I met when I came to Los Angeles. As a matter of fact, is mind-bogglingly big blessing.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well,
yeah, thank God for that.
Yeah, thank you so much for spending some time with us and letting us peek into your life. Thank you so much, Michael.
My pleasure.
I have one last question. This will be our last question.
Great.
Aisha wants to know, as you enjoy characters with duality or a twisted personality, have you ever thought about doing voice work acting in a Japanese anime psychological thriller?
Yeah, I haven't thought about that particularly, but I do voiceover. I've done a number of audio dramas and some commercials and stuff with voiceover. I love doing characters and voices. In fact, before I was ever an actor, I used to do accents and character voices. So yeah, I haven't thought about it specifically, but you know, if you have somebody who's making anime twisted psychological thriller, feel free to reach out.
Send them your way. That sounds great.
Send them my way.
Well, Josh, thank you so much for being with us today.
Yeah.
And we really enjoyed it, and I hope you did. And I can hear things in the background, so I do want to get you off of here so you can deal with real life. So
I gotta go take care of Ethan.
And that's important. That's important. So everyone, thank you all for coming. We'll see you in next time. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Take care. Thanks, guys.